You're enjoying Morning Cheer with Jerry Williams and Teresa Daly on 104.9 WIHS.
And joining us now is Suzanne Sorensen, 20-plus years in senior care. And this is one of three. This is going to be a three-part series. She's here this morning and for the next 2 Wednesdays with Teresa Daly and myself. And today's topic is dementia. Good morning, Suzanne.
Good morning, Jerry.
How are you?
I feel like I should say good morning, good morning.
Good morning, Middletown.
That's right. I just want to thank you so much to begin with, because I have been an avid and blessed listener of this station for over 26 years and have had that opportunity every day to wake up and change my life with the love and the information and the blessings that they pour out to us every day. So again, thank you so much to the team. I want to go over different types of dementia. This is a sad topic, but it is a very well-needed conversation I think we need to have as children of parents of dementia, or children that don't understand that their parent has dementia or is even going through it, and the spouses don't know how to communicate that to the kids. So I'm going to cover different topics. I'm going to go into examples of my parents. I had lost both of my parents to dementia, sadly. Each of their journey was a different journey. One went into an advanced stage of dementia, and the other one kind of stayed in a medium, moderate stage of dementia. But I want to give you examples, tips, suggestions. Today we're going to cover a little bit about what is dementia, as far as everybody wants to automatically put everybody into the Alzheimer's category because they see memory loss. Memory loss doesn't mean you got Alzheimer's, I'll tell you that. There's irreversible and reversible types of dementias out there. So it could be a simple thing as a medication mishap or mix-up. It could be alcoholism. It could be diabetes. So there's things that could be reversed with dementia, and then there's dementia that cannot be reversed. So there's types of dementia like Parkinson's, Huntington's disease, Lewy bodies, Alzheimer's, vascular dementia. My mother, rest her soul, had vascular dementia. My father was diagnosed with regular ALZ because, again, it was easier to kind of peg him into that category back, into the early 2000s. So in the last 20 years, or plus 20 years, I've been helping seniors. I'm now retired, thank the Lord, helping families place a loved one into whether it be independent, assisted living, or a memory care community. Not every one of those communities is the best fit. My goal was to do what was best for the senior and their loved one, not the dollars, but the resident or the potential resident. Is this the right fit? Is this the right place? Is it time for them to stay home, continue to thrive in their home environment for as long as they can safely do so? Or is it time to make a move? So I'm going to share some examples. So I'm going to tell you about mom and dad, because I think this is a good way to get a feel of where I went as a child with my 2 siblings. My father was diagnosed with dementia when he was in his probably 65, 67 years old. And we heard phone calls from my mom, who was in California, that dad's acting different. He's not the same. He's doing things that don't make sense. He's having problems on the computer. When my sister and my brother and I would call to California to our parents, every time Dad got on the phone, he sounded fine. Well, guess what? Dad was not fine, but he was a good faker, as they call it, good cover-up. And when he got on the phone, he was like, "Hi, chickadee, I love you, I miss you, how's work?" It was the same kind of conversation over and over again, but to me, he was fine. So we'd call each other up after a conversation with Dad and say, "Well, how did Dad sound to you?" "Well, Mom's kind of like exaggerating maybe," or what's really going on? So little by little, we kind of started seeing the difference. But then we felt and heard the difference in my mom's voice. She was exhausted. She was fed up. She was frustrated. And she was telling us stories that was really hard for us to believe. So this is why I called it Denial is Not the River of Egypt, because it was so easy as children to deny that really something was going on because we couldn't see it. So Dad, his journey started changing real severe when he came home when I was out visiting and told us he lost his job. We couldn't figure out why. He was a chief manufacturing engineer for a plant for over 30 some odd years, loved what he was doing, made load cells for big trucks, and he could no longer do his job, which we didn't know. But he said, oh, it's because they want somebody younger. They want somebody that's cheaper. And now I've been here for so many years, so they let me go. Next day, we get the owner coming to my mom's house saying, let's talk in private. So we started talking to him and found out that Dad could not use the computer. He couldn't get the systems right, and his calculations were so important to the cells and the scales that they were making that it could be dangerous. So that was a real wake-up call for all of us. So that was kind of like as the road started to begin for Dad in his journey. We saw the progressions happening, and we saw what it was doing to Mom. Little by little, he started putting salsa in milk. Weird thing, right? So Mom would say, why are you doing that? So communication's another story I'm going to talk about next week. The why, how comes? Let's communicate in a different way. But as kids, we didn't know how to communicate. This was new for us. This was still, oh my gosh, how can this be happening to my dad in his 60s? Well, his mother had Alzheimer's. We didn't know that way back when she was in Denmark because they didn't diagnose it back then. So here's some things that I want you to kind of be aware as an adult child or a spouse. We're going to talk about some of these things. When you visit somebody, I think it's important if you have a friend or a loved one that you're seeing these changes, but you don't know how to address it. So let's talk about when you visit somebody. How does the house look? You know, my mom was a caregiver, so it was a little bit different when Dad was going through it. But how is the house set up? Are they going out for walks? And then the neighbor said, gee, they went down the wrong street. Are they putting food in the refrigerator and forget to check the expiration date? So these are things I would talk to families before, saying, gee, it's time to move them into an Alzheimer's facility. Maybe not. Maybe they're just bored, lonely, isolated. They don't have the friends they used to have because they've noticed a change in their mental cognitive disorders. They're seeing this change happening, and it's very frustrated. My dad knew he was going through it, but he didn't know what to do about it. So some of the things we noticed Dad starting doing, kind of odd, but it does happen. Layering clothes. We saw that Dad would start to put his clothes on, but then he'd put more clothes on and more clothes on. And guess what came on last? Underwear.
Oof.
So you don't go out of the house in your underwear, but it was on top of shirts and shirts and shirts. The other thing Dad started doing was going for walks. Well, guess what? Yeah. I always heard my mom or Dad would never do this. Well, Dad did it. And we got the phone call from Mom that Dad left the house, of course, didn't have his ID with him. The police found him 2 miles away. They lived out in the desert in California in the Temecula Valley area. And that was one time. Then it happened a second time. So what are we going to do about this? Can we control it by medicine? Is it time for him to move into a community? Can he safely stay at home? When he started playing with the gas burners and the microwaves and the coffee makers with no water, it started to get dangerous. So we had to put in safeguards into place. Sundowning is very common with dementia for more of an advanced stage. Sundowning, you hear the word sundown, and it's really when the sun is starting to go down, people's attitudes or behaviors can change. Dad started to sundown. What did that do to Mom? Oh my gosh, she never got any sleep. So Dad would pound on the door at night because he was up and he was frustrated and he started hallucinating and saying, why are these men in the backyard? Who said they could have a party here? So sadly, Mom was losing weight. Her health was compromised, and she just couldn't do it anymore. So this is where we had to pull together as a family and decide what's our next step. But some of the other things I want to cover, and I'll kind of go into what happened with Dad, down a little bit, is let's talk about the first step you got to put into place. How many of you, as adult children or even a spouse, have a health directive, a medical directive? Is there a copy easily found? If they have not had a legal formal diagnosis of dementia, can they still sign what their wishes are? It's so important to do that. I personally have done that for myself, knowing I come from a generation with dementia. So making sure that you put things into place while you have the opportunity now. I'm going to tell you, get it done. But looking for those clues, if somebody's living alone, is checking the refrigerator, checking the mail. I found out that, the mail would pile up. canned goods, start to get expired? Do they dress appropriate? How's the mobility, which I'll talk about Mom in a little bit, when she got dementia. But my father's mobility changed, the gait, as the dementia changed. He was not able to do the things he used to do. Another thing to look for is prescriptions. Are they taking the medications when living alone? Who's overseeing it? And who's refilling it? When was the last time anybody checked? Good example is when Mom got dementia and Dad had already been gone, Mom would try to take her fingernail and get the pills out of the container, but drop them on the floor. Well, guess what happens? Blood pressure medicine not being taken. Other important medicine, oops, it fell in the trash, or it's in between the seat and the recliner. So then you try a pill pockets, pre-poured packets, whatever's going to make it easier for them, get it done. But if there's not a easy way to get it in place, it's got to be changed. So the local pharmacies do what's called pre-pours. So Mom or Dad could still stay at home with some supervision and with some guidance. So I call them wall walkers. My dad used to be a wall walker. So he'd hang onto the wall to get down the hallway. But if he fell, could he get back up? Good test to do. Get your parent on the ground and see if they can get back off the floor. If not, how they gonna get the help if they don't have a phone with them. So check the prescriptions, check the refrigerator, check for any bruises, unusual things that you see on their face or their arms if they've hit themselves by accident or run into doors. So just kind of like the car. Does the car have some dents? Does it have some scratches? What's going on with the driving? I'll cover that again. But just quick learning and seeing as you walk into a house with somebody that is getting that diagnosis or has been noticed as memory has changed and been compromised, these are quick things to look for. Thermostats. How many times have I gone into a house where the thermostat's at 80, 85, and they're still laying their clothes, and then they're hydrated, they get a UTI, the parents, the children, nobody knows what's going on. They're aggressive. Their attitudes change. Their mood behaviors have changed. And they rush them to 911, put them in Jerry Psych at the hospital. Well, they had a urinary tract infection. Common misdiagnosis. They think it's dementia. So make sure your loved one is always hydrated.
If you're just joining us, we are with Suzanne Sorensen, 20-plus years in the senior care field, and today's topic is dementia. This is part of a 3-part series. She will be with us for the next couple of Wednesdays talking about different things, but today is dementia.
Yeah, thank you, Jerry. So another thing that I found out that was very common in households and talking to families was the non-use or the problem use of using typical things like a coffee maker, a microwave, a stove. My dad would take the burners and turn it on, but forget to turn the stove off. He couldn't microwave hot dogs. I had a family that came in one day and said, gee, I went to my dad's house. There was 24 hot dogs in the microwave, like the whole pack of 24 hot dogs. He never ate them. If he ate them, he would have had food poisoning. But again, looking for how are they working their day-to-day meal program? Are they eating properly? Is the food getting complicated for them? Are they just sticking with hot dogs and peanut butter because, again, that's all they're making because it's easier? So check electronics, check the food supply. Is anybody checking on them on a regular basis? My mother before my mother got dementia, had a neighbor, they'd do the mini blind. So if the mini blind wasn't open, somebody might have a problem. So sure enough, before my mother's dementia, she found her neighbor on the floor. So relying on help from a neighbor or friend is awesome, especially when your kid's out of states. It's really difficult to do a daily check. You're not going to be able to do FaceTime every day with them, and most of the families today, I personally have trouble just getting on Facebook myself. So how is your elderly parent going to learn to get on Facebook or use these new phone swipe cards that you have to touch and everything? So again, how do we make sure somebody's seeing them on a regular basis, somebody's calling in on them? Is it time to get help in, which I'll go over? Who's doing the refills on the meds? Here's the other thing. If they walked outside and the door locked on them, how would they get back in their house? So children don't think about those little things, okay? So make sure that there's a key. The neighbor has a key, but you can't be a concierge, a chauffeur, a nurse, an entertainer, a shopper online, a caregiver manager. You can't do it all. So it's okay to ask for help. And it's okay to bring in somebody, and you might call them a housekeeper or a friendly helper, and don't tell them it's because they need help, because you're not going to get the approval that you're going to need. So I'm going to cover that more next week. And how do you talk about the car driving? And how do you pull the car? And who's going to be the bad guy? So we're going to discuss what we went through as, again, adult children on the car issue, as well as when is it time that they're no longer able to stay at home, and what are your options going to be down the road. And I'm going to try to make that a little bit easier for you and safer for the loved one, via identification and other things that's going to help the police find somebody if they do leave the house. So I appreciate your time. I hope you learned a little thing or two. My goal is for God to use me as a servant to spread the word. I've been there. I've done that. I learned the hard way. Then I got in the business to help families. So I'm kind of a guinea pig for you. So use my brain, use my heart, and hope you learn something new today.
You need to be on television doing this.
I will be next week.
Wow, really?
Well, you're FaceTime streaming,
Oh,
whatever.
that's right.
That's right.
That's right. How can I forget? YouTube Live,
I'll
Facebook
test your
Live.
memory.
She's Suzanne Sorensen, 20-plus years in senior care, part of a 3-part series, and today's topic has been dementia. And so be sure to tune in next Wednesday and then the Wednesday after that for more, where it will be YouTube Live and Facebook Live. You'll be able to see Suzanne along with Teresa Daly and myself. Thank you so much. You've been fantastic.
Thank you, Jerry. And thank you to our team. We love y'all.
Y'all, there's that word again.
We love y'all.
I love y'all. 825 with the Salt Mine on WIHS.
104.9 WIHS.
You're enjoying Morning Cheer with Jerry Williams and Teresa Daly on 104.9 WIHS.